Today I'm going to start a series on my EDC, also known as Everyday Carry. And we're going to take a look at two pocket flashlights that I use every single day. We have the Olight i3T EOS and the Olight S1R Baton 2. All right, here we are, another episode of the journey in October, if you can believe it. So I think it's safe to say that hiking season up in the mountains has pretty much wound down, unless we're going to be talking about a winter hike. And riding season on the Harley is also all but gone. I do still plan to get out, so we'll have some short hikes, local hikes, and it is October. And next weekend is supposed to be decent, up in the 60s. So maybe one more ride in before all is said and done. We also had our first baby last weekend, so took a short hiatus and now I'm back at it. And I think, you know, the outdoor gods, everything is telling me now that as one door closes, another door opens. It's always been my belief, and I think this is a good opportunity now to focus on some other DIY projects and more gear reviews. It's always been something that I wanted to do on the channel, and I think it's, you know, now's the time to dive into that. So we'll get a fire going. It's a little cold out right now, and I'll see you guys inside so we can talk about the next chapter on the journey. That's right, it's getting cold here in New England, but I'm going to take that opportunity to start a few things on the channel that I haven't yet done. I want to take a look at some DIY projects, as well as a look at my EDC carry. We'll do more product reviews on the gear that I use while I'm on the trail. Today we're going to start a new series. It's going to be a look at my EDC, and we're going to focus first on my everyday carry flashlights, and we'll take a look at that now. Alright, so I'll give you an overview of both of these, and I've definitely been favoring one more than the other lately, and the result might surprise you, but we'll get into that in a bit. First we'll look at the Olight i3T EOS. This is actually one of their entry-level EDC lights, and I kind of bought it on a whim, but I'm glad that I did. This is the dark tan anodized aluminum. It has the double helix knurling here that you can see. It's powered by a single AAA battery, non-rechargeable. I think currently it might ship with a rechargeable battery in there, but it's not rechargeable in the unit. So you can always put a rechargeable battery in here, but I just use a normal alkaline battery in here. It does last quite a while, so you know, for the cost of a AAA battery, it's not too bad. It has two settings on here. There's the max 180 lumen setting, and that will last 21 minutes, and then it has a 5 lumen output for 16 hours. 180 lumens actually is pretty good, but you know, for 21 minutes you burn through that pretty quick. The 5 lumen output is actually surprisingly useful as well. If you're trying to see anything in distance, you have to step it up, but for any task right in front of you, working tasks, 5 lumens is actually more than adequate, I found. The max beam distance is, they rated at 196 feet or 60 meters. And it has a wide, broad hotspot, so that's really best for close-up tasks. And it operates with the tail switch right here. You can hear the audible click. And you can have both momentary use, or you can click it down for constant use. I find it very handy. I actually prefer just grabbing the light and having the tail switch as opposed to the other Olight that I have here with a side switch, but we'll get into that later. It is IPX waterproof rated, so you can fully submerge this and you won't have any issues. You can see an O-ring gasket here that seals everything up. And it also has the two-sided pocket clip. Now I've actually caught this one here, so it's bent out a little bit. It's rated at 1.4 ounces or 30 grams, and to me, one of the biggest advantages of this light is the fact that it's very thin and it's cheap. at only $22. All right, next we'll take a look at the S1R Baton 2. This was my everyday light for a couple years. I actually lost it and liked it so much that I bought another one. You will notice on here, you know, it's a little beat up. I do actually use these lights on a daily basis, and we'll get into the specs. This is the standard black anodized aluminum with kind of the checkered knurling here. It gives a good amount of purchase here, so you don't feel like it's ever going to slip out. For a reason that I'll get into later, I actually do have the lanyard that comes with it attached. So that also helps. You can kind of grip that, and it gives you a little bit more to pull on here. It comes with the rechargeable IMR 15340 battery, as well as the USB magnetic charger, which is convenient. It is crazy bright on the max setting. It has 1,000 lumen max setting. They call that the turbo mode. It is just stupid bright, which is great, honestly. You know, we've got a black dog, so if I'm trying to see her out in the woods late at night, this light helps out a lot. The other one, not so much. I mean, in good conditions it's okay, but she really does blend in. This will only run at the max setting for 1.5 minutes because it sucks up so much juice and it literally gets hot to the touch. So it does drop down after 1.5 minutes to a 300 lumen setting, and then it'll run for another 37 minutes. On the high setting of 600 lumens, it'll run, and then it'll actually shut down to 300 lumens for 45 minutes. There's a few more brightnesses on here. It also has a 60 lumen setting, which it'll run for at 3 hours and 40 minutes, 12 lumens low for 20 hours, and then a half lumen candle mode, which will last for 8 days, which is surprisingly useful. If it's pitch black and you have to use that, you could do that, you know, for tasks such as reading, close-up work. So if you're, you know, in a survival mode or something, or you're out camping and you don't want to have to recharge it, or bring a recharge USB charger, using that for tasks that you don't need more light actually will help preserve the light for a long time. This uses the side operation switch, which a lot of people find less handy than the tail switch on the i3T, which I will tend to agree, but it still isn't bad. And, you know, once I'm using it, I can't say that I actually, you know, dislike it. I just like the feeling of the tail switch on the other one. There is an indicator on here for the battery with green, orange, and red. Whenever it's green, it tells you that you have 60% battery or greater. Orange says it's from 10 to 60%, and then red means it's less than 10%, which is handy. You can tap it on, tap it off, turn it on and off. If you hold it once it's on, it'll cycle through the low, medium, and high modes. From there, a double tap is the turbo. And whatever mode you're in, if you do a triple tap, it has a strobe. Whenever it's off, you can hold it, and you know, whereas when it's on, it'll cycle through the modes. When it's off, it'll cycle to the candle mode, which you can't really tell right now that it's doing much, but if it was dark in here, you'd be able to tell. And if it's off and you cycle through the candle mode and hold it again, it'll actually lock the button so you don't accidentally turn it on. And no matter what you do, it won't turn on until you hold it again to get through that. So a lot of functionality, which is great. However, I will say, you know, it's a little bit more complex. Getting used to what they all the modes are, what they do, takes a little bit longer. So take that for what it is. This is IPX8 rated as well, and also has the two-way pocket clip. So whether you're going to have it face up in the pocket, or you want to use this to put on, you know, the brim of your hat, you can do that. This is 1.8 ounces or 51 grams. And like I said before, I actually do have the lanyard on here, which drives me nuts. I have to stuff this in my pocket, and then the light goes in after, and it just so happens to go in the same pocket that I have other things in, namely a pocket knife. And, you know, this is the Spyderco PM3, and it's a little bit wider than some other options out there. So whenever you have both of these, you know, in your pocket, they do take up a lot, and you can't fit much else in your pocket. You know, I have my keys in there as well. I'm usually pulling one or two things out to get to them. Whereas with the i3T, honestly, this is thin enough that it just kind of disappears and I can still get my keys in there no problem. The reason why I have the lanyard on here is because I hook this, this actually falls out of my pocket. Being thinner, and I think it's a little bit further up, I don't know how to really explain it, but whenever I sit down, it actually pushes up and out of my pocket a little bit. So I have to be very mindful, keep pushing that in, and I have had it pop out numerous times, and it's just hanging by the lanyard here. So that's kind of a safety thing because I didn't want to lose it again. That's how I lost it the first time. So honestly, because of that, I have been favoring the i3T more often, and also, whereas the S1R is about $65, this is only about $22. So even though it doesn't have a rechargeable battery, you could, replace this 2 times over just for having this once. So, I don't feel quite as bad. I wouldn't feel quite as bad about losing this, but also I actually have never, this one's never ridden out of my pocket where this one does all the time. So I like it, but just so you understand what you're getting yourself into, you may have a similar issue as well. I would recommend both of them. If I'm going camping, I actually do prefer the S1R because you can see a lot further into the woods, and it just so happens to be, you can stand it up. If you're in a tent, you can actually reflect that up on the top and it'll kind of illuminate the entire tent. Plus it is rechargeable, so I typically have a battery bank with me because of the camera whenever I record, and I can always pull a charge from that if necessary. So either I'm having a headlamp, or if I want some extra light, I'll tend to grab this as well. On a day-to-day basis, although I like both of them, I have carried the i3T more often. Without getting into exactly what I do, I am going to people's houses often, basements, looking into new jobs, and having this with me has been super handy. So these are 2 current offerings from Olight. I would actually recommend them both. You be the judge on which one's right for you. This one's a lot less expensive, so whatever one's right for you, I don't think you're gonna be disappointed either way. If you got some value out of this, please do hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let me know what your thoughts are. Subscribing and hitting like is the only way that I'm gonna grow this channel, so I do appreciate it. Thanks very much, and I will see you on the next one.